Yeah, why did nobody want to tell me that Coachella is set up like the 12 different districts from the Hunger Games?
We have been stuck in line for nearly 10 hours. We showed up here for camping at 3 in the morning and got in line. It's almost 1 p.m. right now. We still haven't even gone through security.
First meal at Coachella, I am not doing well. I'll tell you that much right now. Okay, girl. People made it look so easy. Me and my best friend are not doing well.
We can't drink water. We can't go pee.
I'm just gonna say it, but rich kids ruin everything. They ruin music, they ruin art, they ruin culture, they ruin fashion, they ruin festivals. And you know what? I'll even backtrack it and say that rich, entitled kids ruin everything.
Okay, here's my hot take that I'm gonna start this video off with. There has never been a time where people haven't been bitching about Coachella. So there's no doubt that, the complaints have certainly evolved about it over the years. For example, back in 2014, the biggest complaint that you would hear about the famous music festival was that girls were showing up in these corny, obscene flower crowns and appropriative Native American headdresses. And the critique was largely about the aesthetic that was being imitated. Which is interesting now because there is so much discourse about the nostalgia of Coachella 2014 in particular, it's become its own referenced pastiche kind of thing. But nowadays, the Coachella complaints have evolved to reflect what we're all frustrated about in the year 2025, class divide and the inshitification of everything. Inshitification describes the phenomenon where businesses and platforms and services decline in quality over time while profit continues to go up. This often ends up maximizing profits for shareholders, while you, the average consumer, are expected to pay more for less. And average is an important distinction here because while Coachella has become a playground for influencers who are invited there by brands, we'll get there in a sec, normal people still spend a lot of money to attend the festival. Maybe they saved up for a couple of years to be able to do the trip and afford the ticket, or maybe they're on some kind of payment plan, or worse, going into credit card debt. But I think if anything, this Coachella festival has illustrated how great the divide has become between normal-ish people who are just trying to go have a good experience and these mega wealthy influencers who are putting out on social media that they've had this, great, wonderful experience sort of curated for them. And to illustrate what I'm talking about here, let's get into the traffic and parking situation. Now, I've never been to Coachella myself, but it does provide a unique challenge in that it's in the middle of the desert, so getting yourself there and back is a little bit difficult. From what I understand, some people will do, hotels that are, relatively speaking, close enough to the actual grounds. Some of these bigger brand houses will provide more luxury accommodations for the people they pay to be there. But a lot of people, alternatively, will just camp, either in provided tents that they pay for, or they'll just camp in their cars. And apparently, as you saw from the intro clips that I just played, car camping was a bit of a challenge this year, more so than other years. But before we get there, I just want to do a quick check-in. Come here. Come closer. Are you making time for self-pleasure and sex positivity today? If the answer to that is no, well, I'm about to change the game, baby, with today's sponsor, the Sona 2 Cruise. The Sona 2 Cruise is a sonic clitoral massager, and it's ideal for those looking to experience bigger, longer, and more intense orgasms. It has 12 different modes to experience and explore, and it uses sensonic technology. What is sensonic technology, you ask? Basically, this handy-dandy tool here uses sonic waves and gentle pulses for the ultimate unique sensory experience. One of the features that I really like is called cruise control, which I know sounds crazy, but stick with me here. Basically, 20% of the Sona Cruise's full power is reserved during normal use. So if the motor begins to drop power or it's pressed harder against your body, that 20% is unleashed, so there's no reduction in intensity. And this just does it on its own. It's not a setting, it's completely automatic. It's also fully waterproof and made of medical grade, body safe silicone. So whether or not you are looking to explore your own self-pleasure, maybe spice things up with a partner, the Sona 2 Cruise is a great option for you, and that's why I'm so excited to partner with them today, by giving you a special opportunity to prioritize your self-care. So go to the link in my description down below and use my code Calif15 for a 15% stackable discount, not just for this product, but for all of LeLo's products as well. That is Calif15 for a 15% stackable discount, and thank you so much to the Sona 2 Cruise and LeLo for sponsoring today's video.
In case anybody's wondering how car camping is going at Coachella,
Chaos
chaos at Coachella as the journey to the iconic music festival's campgrounds turned into a parking lot.
Coachella, what the hell are you doing? We have been stuck in line for nearly 10 hours.
Many taking to social media to document hours-long traffic jams and no bathrooms.
There's no porta potties, so if you need to use a restroom, grab some food, whatever it is, do that first. This is crazy. I'll keep you guys updated on how long it takes us to get inside.
So, I want to start off this section by saying that I think we need to be more specific with our critiques of systems. So what I mean by that is, Coachella might not be for everybody. I don't know if I personally would ever, make the great trek out to the desert to have this experience. But just because it's not for you, doesn't mean that other people, don't deserve to have, at least, if not a good time, a quality time there, considering the amount of money that they paid to go. So, I'm seeing a lot of people clowning on these concert goers who had to get up in the middle of the night to go try to get into the festival, and, the car camps, and, all your shit's gonna get stolen, whatever. But I see people who, maybe, I don't know everybody's individual stories as to why they're there, but, maybe this is a once-in-a-lifetime experience for them. Maybe they're just, really into festival culture and want to, be able to go either once in their life or multiple times. Maybe they're, there to see an artist who means a lot to them, and they're, shelling out this money to go have this experience. And I just feel like clowning on those people versus clowning on the rich influencers who, again, have had this completely different experience curated for them, clowning on the regular people just trying to, make the best of a bad situation is generally unproductive to me. What you should be mad at, one, is the influencers who don't have to, deal with this mess, but more importantly, be mad at Coachella for clearly, in-shitifying their own product, because from what I've read, I guess, they went with, a different parking company this year. A lot of people have been complaining that, they can't find any staff anywhere to answer any questions about, where bathrooms are or where to actually park. So if there's less staff around, I'm gonna assume that means it's because Coachella probably hired less staff. And so now Coachella is potentially putting these people in, shitty, dangerous, and unsafe situations, with, getting into the festival and, having a safe experience at the venue. I'm less inclined to blame the concert goers for that than I am Coachella. I see a lot of people comparing it to Fyre Festival, with the joke with Fyre Festival, if you don't remember, that it was it's a lot of these kind of rich influencers who got baited to go to this festival on this island, and then they had to eat cold cheese sandwiches out of a bag with nowhere to sleep, that was the Fyre Festival discourse. And this is different than that, I feel because there's no haha, fuck you lesson here. The rich people are not the ones getting fucked over for going to Coachella. I just feel like everybody is getting lumped into the same box of this is what you get for, planning a trip and daring to have fun. You know what I mean? Obviously not everybody going to Coachella is a great and noble person, or even a person who's middle class, some of them might be shitty rich people, outside of the influencers that got paid to be there. But I also think if you're paying so much money to go, you should be entitled to a safe and bare minimum comfort experience that matches the price that you paid for. In this specific instance, I think we're clowning on the wrong people, which brings me to my next point. What happens when all of these people join forces in a crowd together for a music festival act?
Okay, I'm a Coachella stan, but what the hell was going on with the crowds this year?
Dude, actually so disappointing. There were certain sets where Lorde and I were literally the only people dancing in our section.
Lady Gaga, people should have been getting down.
Dancing, vibing, singing, screaming, and everyone was just silent.
Nodding their head, not even in it. And I was you do realize we're witnessing art at its highest level right now?
Music make you lose control. Music make you lose control.
So Brian May came on stage at Coachella during Benson Boone's set and played the solo to Bohemian Rhapsody, and basically nobody in the audience really reacted and understood the relevance of that situation.
Can't play this audio for copyright, but it's Benson Boone talking about this moment, and, the audio is Bohemian Rhapsody, so just, Mama, ooh. So there's some debate over this, right? Because I have seen a lot of people saying the crowds at Coachella are dead. It doesn't look very kind of like hyped up, which is crazy because there were a lot of like really cool acts that got brought out by surprise. In particular, I'm thinking Megan Thee Stallion bringing out Queen Latifah. That's crazy. Missy Elliott coming out. Like, those are some really great moments that I feel like, from what I saw on social media, didn't get a whole lot of hype. And from like personal accounts of people who were there being like, yeah, like these crowds, like we're just kind of like standing around very chill. A couple people have said that it's because like there's a disconnect when you're watching the stream versus when you're actually there, because they do mute like the crowd on the stream so that you can hear the artists more. But I feel like that doesn't account for like the personal testaments I've been seeing of people who are like, yeah, the crowds are like kind of dead and kind of lame. And this does suck, and I feel like it's a combination of a few things. One, the people who are probably toward the front of the crowd are like the VIP influencers with the big bucks who get to be up there, and like those people generally tend to be a little bit more like reserved and buttoned up because it's almost as if like, people are watching their every move. Like it's kind of that vibe. I think it's also the societal expectation of like being recorded constantly, like you're constantly being surveilled by people's phones, and so like if you're doing something cringe in a crowd and you're not like, playing it 100% nonchalant and you're like freaking out over your favorite artist, like somebody's gonna record you and be like, oh, look at this fucking like cringe weirdo. Like I think like that culture has permeated a lot of like the concert going and festival going experience. And it's like the age old debate of like, would you be going to this thing? Would you be seeing this artist? Would you be like engaging like with art in this way if you couldn't record it and you couldn't like show people that you were there? But where everybody was definitely at, every influencer and every non-influencer, they were all at the Charli XCX set, which is the next controversy that I am going to discuss. Okay, so Charli XCX was not the headliner of Coachella this year. The headliner was a small, unknown indie band called Green Day. Maybe you've heard of them? In all seriousness though, you've probably seen clips of Charli XCX's set on social media, and it looked like a lot of fun. She brought Billie Eilish out, she brought Lorde out, and of the crowds that were at Coachella this year that I saw, this one definitely looked like a more kind of, pumped up, hyped to be there environment. Which makes sense because Charli had a big year last year, Brat was the album of the summer, she's very culturally cool right now, so it was a combination of people, being at that set who actually wanted to see her, and then all the influencers whose job it is to make Coachella look cool were also there because she's the coolest person there. So naturally, a lot of people were asking, why was Charli XCX not the headliner this year? Why was it Green Day? I haven't seen any social media clips from Green Day. And for those who don't know, Coachella hasn't always been like, the pop culture music festival. It actually has its roots in rock and punk. And Green Day is one of the biggest and most well-known bands in the world, so maybe they might not be relevant in particular to your TikTok feed right now. To my knowledge, nobody is doing interpretive dance to 21 Guns. But like, sometimes stuff just isn't for you. You know what I mean? Maybe there were a lot of people in that crowd who were super hyped to see Green Day. From what I've heard, they put on a very good show. And clearly, this whole situation exposed a lot of people to Green Day's whole thing, because during the set, Billie Joe Armstrong did his whole I'm not a part of the MAGA agenda bit, which is a lyric replacement he's been doing for a while in American Idiot, which from what I saw prompted a lot of Green Day went woke comments from dumb conservatives. And also, why is Billie Joe Armstrong saying the F-slur discourse, which like, everybody just go watch Lindsay Ellis's video essay on Green Day. Anyway, perhaps the most notable thing that they did that night was replace a lyric in Jesus of Suburbia to advocate for Palestine. Running away from pain like the kids from Palestine. So, it's a good thing. You have the headliner of this festival taking the opportunity to call for causes that are important to them. And it's not like nobody expected this from Green Day. They've been doing it for a rather long time. It's more of a contrast thing. Because while this was going on, a picture surfaced from a Coachella after party of Charli XCX wearing a sash that said should have been a headliner, which prompted comments like, wow, Green Day took their headline opportunity to advocate for Palestine. Meanwhile, Charli XCX is over here bitching about not getting enough recognition for her album about being sad and doing coke. So like, I'm a Charli XCX fan. I love Brat. Think it's a great album. And I also understand, like, you know, part of her bit is kind of this, like, larger than life, like, cocky attitude, right? And a lot of people have pointed out that, like, this is sort of, like, part of that, and part of that persona, and, like, oh, like, we want pop divas back, but we get mad when, like, you know, they exhibit diva behavior, which, like, fair, but also, like, just because something might be ironic or, like, part of a persona or part of a bit doesn't mean that you personally have to find it funny. I don't find this, like, funny. Not that I'm gonna be like, I'm personally offended by it. I'm not. You know what I mean? Like, it's whatever. It's no skin off my ass that it happened. I'm not gonna, like, you know, make a larger catastrophized issue about it, and about, like, what this means for, like, the state of artists and art in general. Do I think it's, like, lame and kind of shitty? Like, yeah, and I don't think that's a bad opinion to have. And I do understand why this particular moment is contributing to, like, the idea that Coachella has, like, been a poisoned well of sour vibes and people only doing things for the aesthetic and not being there to, like, enjoy the music, or, like, you know, in Green Day's case, like, the raw kind of, like, political punk energy of what they're doing, and everybody's, you know, all into their phones and, like, you know, not paying attention to what's around them. Like, it fits into this narrative, like, so perfectly in a way that, like, I guess could be considered a little bit dramatic. But I also understand people who are entirely cynical, just kind of, like, about these big pop culture moments where it feels like every time somebody has the opportunity to let you down, they do. And so that's why I want to try to end this video on a positive note. My favorite moment of Coachella 2025 so far, I know there's next weekend, so there's a whole lot of other things to catch up on in that way, but Bernie Sanders making an appearance.
This country faces some very difficult challenges. And the future of what happens to America is dependent upon your generation.
So this is my favorite clip that went viral over the first Coachella weekend. Before Clairo took the stage to do her set, she was introduced by Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, who is not running for anything here in the US, but is currently on a tour, a speaking tour across the US, to discuss how we can fight back against the oligarchy and the fascistic acts of the freaks in the Trump administration. For those outside of the US, Bernie Sanders is pretty much the only politician who is doing anything like this, while the leaders of the Democratic Party roll over and go, oh, this is so bad, this is illegal, like, doesn't the Trump administration know that this is illegal? Somebody should really do something about this, guys. Let's complain about how somebody should really do something about this instead of doing anything to actively form an opposition movement. But what I love about this moment is that it meant a lot to people. I've been seeing a lot of TikTok reactions of just, like, the pure joy on people's faces to see Bernie Sanders, like, up there hugging Clairo, and then everybody booing when Bernie was talking about Trump. I just think that it's so easy to be cynical about everything when the alternative is learning to meet people where they're at, and to me that's what Bernie has always been about. You can look at this crowd and be like, oh, it's a bunch of liberal, out-of-touch 25-year-old wasting their money on this pretentious hippie event in the desert, and they don't actually care about, you know, anything important, which, like, I don't know, maybe that's true for some of them. But also, maybe for some of them, it was cool to partake in a human experience, in a collective political experience, that for one moment made everything seem less cynical and less shitty. And as we engage and spectate on these collective pop culture events, whether it be Coachella or something else, those are the moments that stand out to me among the mess. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. You should watch these two videos here that I made, because I want more people to see them, and I think they're good. Thank you so much. If you're at Coachella, be safe, drink water. If you're not at Coachella, I don't know, read a book. Go outside, contribute to your community. That's the message that I have in these trying times. See you guys later. Bye.